Hey guys, how's it going? CoreData here. Welcome back to our video. Today we're playing some more cards, and we're taking a look at the slow deck in the format currently, and that is Soviet France Control. So, this is the list. This is Soviet France Control, and as I mentioned, this has been one of the defining control decks of the format for the last little while. This deck is very well known for being usually fairly focused on the resistance package in France, as well as playing a number of quite greedy late game options. However, this build of the deck is tech to be a lot more early game focused, aiming to take on decks such as Jaggro and Shuffle a little bit more consistently, as well as in a manner that doesn't sacrifice our late game potential versus other slower decks. As a result, this build of Soviet France actually has a really good matchup spread into most of the metagame currently. The only deck I have had I've lost to on this deck since the season reset has been exactly Brit US ramp, and that was because I lost to a Bletchley when I had no front formation up. Aside from that, this has not lost a single game so far, which is kind of insane. I've taken this list from rank 8 all the way up to rank 3 so far. I've still not finished my my Field Marshal climb, but we're getting there. So yeah, this deck is very good, and I do want to talk about it because I am playing a couple of interesting cards, as well as something as well as a card that was recently buffed that I have been having a lot of fun playing. As I mentioned, we are tech to be slightly more anti-aggro, which is why our early game ratios look a little bit more look a little bit denser than they normally would in most of these Soviet France control decks. We are playing 3 copies of 178. This is one of the most insane anti-aggro cards in the game currently. The fact that this is 7 health worth of guard for 2 credits is ludicrous, and also the way the stats are distributed on this, it makes it very difficult to trade with efficiently while also trying to pressure face. So 178 ends up being a phenomenal card in this deck. We are playing 3 copies of it. We want to see this on turn 2 versus Japan every game. Alongside that, we are playing most of the standard early game stuff that Soviet Control normally runs. We are playing 3 copies of Sickle. We are playing Zukov for a little bit of Cycle. 97th Rifles, the more I play with this, the more I am unconvinced it belongs in the deck. We'll talk more about this in a moment, but frequently, because of how this deck operates, you don't suffer for card draw, which means whenever we end up drawing 4/14th, it's just a liability and just ends up stuck in hand for most of the game. So the more I have played with 97th in this deck in particular, the worse it's felt. I do think this could probably be trimmed for like the 4th Sickle, or maybe even the 4th 178th, just because it's that good versus aggro. But I haven't decided to cut it just yet. But it is, I think, one of the weaker cards in the deck. We are playing 2 copies of Sally as well. I just want to mention that as well. In the current metagame, Sally is actually quite good. There is a very high density of suppression bait infantry, things like Sabe. You've got a bunch of guards out of like the heavier Brit decks, like the Garrison Spam decks, but like Hampshires. We're seeing a little bit of Seaforth as well recently. We're also seeing quite a lot of artillery out of like US with like a ton of Calliopes because of all the aggro going around, as well as Seahawks, and Sally helps bounce Seahawk to like help deal with the board. So Sally has a ton of viable targets in the current metagame, as well as a little bit of niche synergy within the deck itself with the block. Frequently on turns where we don't have much to do, we'll like take a trade with the block, and we can Sally our own block to reset the health and redraw the card. So we basically just cash in the Sally for some healing on the block, as well as a free card draw, or like just to cycle the Sally itself. It's a very corner case play, but it does come up occasionally. We are playing 3 copies of A45th, again very relevant with all the aggro going around, as well as the standard suite of 2 and 3 drop units, Gatchina, Kirkenes, Silesia, and Ilyushin. We are running a lot of healing in this deck as well, which is partially one of the reasons why this deck is really good into the current metagame. Again, aggro is everywhere, and we have also seen a massive uptick in burn strategies as of late, with things like Brit, Japan, Garrisons, as well as like the Flight to Oblivion stuff. We have seen a ton of Germany, Italy burn, as well as like weird weird fringe versions of like resistance, like Germany France resistance burn has also like taken a bit of an uptick recently, and I have also seen some like Japan France and a little bit of Brit France as well. So what makes this deck so good is its easy access to healing in the form of 2 copies of Liberation, as well as 3 copies of Call to the Colonies. Call to the Colonies also card draw, which in most matchups, we will be drawing cards off this. So, but in very specific matchups, we will be taking the health off this. But with the 3 copies of Call to the Colonies and the 2 copies of Liberation, this deck actually has access to 30-something extra health in the deck, pretty much on demand, which is insane. In the current metagame, this is an unprecedented amount of like guaranteed healing, as well as the incremental heals off of things such as 845th and Gachina. So this deck is very capable at stacking health, which is again very relevant versus decks like Burn. And I did mention we are playing a couple of interesting cards. The most interesting card in this deck is the recently buffed Sharby. This thing in this deck is kind of insane. So this was buffed recently. It went from, I think it was like a 5 credit 2 op 3/5 with Mobilize Heavy Armor 2, and whenever it loses Mobilize you draw a card, to a 5 credit 2 op 4/6 Shock Heavy Armor 2 deployment gets Blitz if it's the first unit you deploy. This thing in this deck is so absurdly good, not only as a like reactive body, but also as a proactive threat versus other control decks. The Heavy Armor 2 on this is so huge, again particularly versus decks like Jagro and other aggro decks. This blanks the majority of their unit base to the point where if this hits the front line, most aggro decks really struggle to get around it. So Sharby ends up being one of those like really, really powerful cards in this deck that just, it doesn't, when you look at it on paper, you're like, you're paying 7 to push, like to either take a trade in front line, or you're paying 9 if you want to hit something in the back line. But that's frequently like good enough because the body it leaves behind is so unbelievably obnoxious to deal with. So yeah, Sharby, I'm so glad that this got reworked. Not the rework I would have given it personally, but I'm glad it is at least playable in some form. This ends up being like Soviet France's version of the big matchy that like France or that Soviet Italy had access to, the 5/6 Blitz Fighter. This is essentially Soviet France's version of that. It's just so, it's very difficult to overstate how good this card has felt in this deck. Also again helps with like pushing damage in the late game versus other slower decks, or once we've managed to stabilize versus aggro. This in the front line, again, like I said, very, very difficult to get around. So yeah, we are playing 2 copies of the Sharby, and I don't think I would run any less. I absolutely have been loving the Sharby in this deck. As for the rest of the deck, it is the standard top end that you expect to see out of Soviet control. Armor Train, again, this synergizes with things like Silesia. It's got 2 keywords, also doesn't die to Monasteer. Same with the T-34, the Elite T-34, and with Guards and Naval, again, more things to trigger Silesia and that don't die to Monasteer. We're playing Banners, we're playing Strat Focus, Monasteer. These are our 3 primary board clears, as well as Fourth Guards, which is a huge value creature, as well as Front Formation, which is our concrete win condition in long, drawn-out games. Once we get to a game to like simplified game state, or versus the slower Brit decks that we've been seeing recently, Front Formation just grinds them out so consistently, it's very difficult to get around once it hits the board. But aside from that, the deck is fairly straightforward. There is a few things that we're not running that you've probably noticed, things like the 6 credit KV. I'm running the Armor Train and the Sharbies over those. I'm also running Korsun. Again, we have trimmed some of like the inconsistent cards have been trimmed in order to make space for a lot more consistency in the deck. Like, we're also not running Little Cobra in the deck to go alongside our Guards Naval. I just don't think it's worth it in a lot of cases, at least not in this version of the deck. It makes a lot more sense in Soviet Italy. Doesn't make so much sense in Soviet France, where we don't have access, or we don't have the massive fighters to make use of like Claim Skies, whereas we do in Soviet Italy. But yeah, the deck trims a little bit of value in order to shore up the aggro matchups, which is essentially what it boils down to. As for the deck itself, as I mentioned, it has a very good matchup spread. I will say that it does struggle against greedier versions in the mirror. The versions of this deck that you see on ladder that run like 3 sabotages and all the resistance cards, this deck does struggle against that, obviously. This is not built to take on the greedy side of the metagame. This is built to take on the more traditional slower control decks out of other nations, as well as the aggro mid-range decks. You are just going to lose to random greedy piles every now and again. That is just how card games work. And it's also, I think, unfavored in the mirror match versus Soviet Italy, just because Soviet Italy has a bit of an easier time developing pressure thanks to the little cobras and the big matches. So that is a matchup that can be a little bit unfavorable, but from my testing has been 50-50, at least in the testing I did last season. But aside from that, the deck is a ton of fun. It is a very it's a super solid control deck. I know I don't play control very often on this channel, and that is not because I don't enjoy control, because I do enjoy control. It's one of my favorite archetypes. But I find that control mirrors just suck to play, particularly Soviet control mirrors, especially with front formation in the format, just because the Soviet control mirrors boil down to who hits front formation first in most cases, which is just, it's a very polarizing matchup. It's just, it boiling down to who drew the win condition first is just, I don't know, I find it very draining. But again, Soviet Control is not the most popular deck in the current format. We're seeing, like I said, a lot of burn, a lot of aggro. So it made sense to play a little bit of it at the start of the season. So yeah, that is the list. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video. I will say I have card reviews for the set upcoming. Part 1 of the card review is going to be in 2 parts. Part 1 should be up on either Monday or Tuesday, and the second part should be up on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on when the card reveals finish up. Because the set is in fact launching on Thursday, so we'll have to see how that goes. So keep an eye on the channel for those, and as I mentioned, hopefully you guys enjoyed the deck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the gameplay. It's a ton of fun, and on to some games. Up against the US. Not really sure what US is doing at the moment. Could be boosters, could be buffs, I guess. Maybe just good old front line. I could just sickle this, but I might be better served holding the sickle here. I'll wait. So I'm going to develop the block next turn. War Machine. We'll play the gold one. A45th. So opponent now has confirmation we are so friends. Sharby is potentially going to be very difficult for my opponent to deal with, just because Heavy Armor 2 soaks up so much. Thunderbolt for the opponent. Resets one of the cards they had drawn. I don't think that's going to be a Showman drawn effect. I could develop the second block here. I might just go 1/78th and just take this. No, I can't, because it's going to cost me 3, right? It's still worth doing, I think. I could sickle just to mark the damage here. Find front formation. Are we going to see a Coronado here? We are not. For freedom. I will do something that's going to look very strange, I think, next turn. Have we got removal for the block here? Calliope. Sure. Both at face. I'm going to block next to the other block. And then I'm going to develop 1/78th here. I leave my HQ open, but I protect the 2 units, which means I can potentially trade out this this Thunderbolt next turn. I do give them a swing at the Calliope. Sullivan's. Fabulous. goes face. Thunderbolt goes face. Oh, Sally is a great pickup. Sally lets me... Sally really actually bails me out here because I can double trade into this now. And Sally the Calliope. And then just fully reset. If they put something at the front line next turn, I have Sharby plus immediately take the trade. Surely we can do it, right? Is the pick off this? US Finland, okay. That is interesting. I will go Liberation here. And then I think I'll double push. Get the other A45 down. Because it's Finn ally, we have a rough idea of what they're going to be playing. Most likely like some amount of Lotus Fard. Maybe with Emasusi. Yeah, we can do it, I figured. I mean, this still takes a double trade. And we always have banners to reset, so... Gotcha, no? I can go Gachina push plus call. I could also heal 3 by bumping here. White Death is something I have to be aware of. We'll draw 2 offs, I think. We are back to 19 right now. Hey. Yeah, I know. That's my cat meows. Oh, I never closed the door. The light. I'll have to do that between games. Yeah. Yeah, so Calliope plus trade. Gets rid of the front half. Another one. Turkenas. Actually, a fun fact: this isn't pronounced Turkenas. It's actually from what I understand, it's actually pronounced Shirkenas. It's Norwegian apparently. This is tough. It's a tough turn. I could develop a clear here. Or I could just develop the Kirkenis. Could remove the Calliope. I could push the Shar, get rid of the Calliope. But yeah, the only reason I'm aware that this is like potentially, or it's called Shirkenes is I was talking to my partner's dad recently about taking a road trip to Nordkapp, which is like the most northern point of Norway. And we were like chatting about things that are in like northern Norway, and he mentioned the town of Kirkenes, which is like close to the Finnish-Russian border. And then I kind of just had like a neuron activation moment. I was like, oh shit. But I'm surely it's written in the cards, like historical context on like in the collection. Does get around the heavy armor here, but this is fine. Still requires like an awkward trade from the opponent. Yeah, they can go here. They can start pushing stuff. Sky Train. Into a Choco Boys. So I can sickle this plus bump. I don't want to waste one of the removal or one of the AoEs here, I don't think. I think I might just go with the T-34. Because I have the front formation when I get the game... Once I get the game into like a super simplified game state, where my opponent's own resources, I can just develop the front formation and just kind of go from there. I don't want to pull the trigger just yet. I think I do just go with the T-34, blow this up. Because my opponent is then inclined to push, right? And then I can, like, if they overextend, I can just go Monasteer. They push a Choco Boy. Sturmy. Into second, we can do it. Pushes Skytrain. Gets first defense battalion. The second Sharby. Do I even care about Skytrain here? I don't think I do. I'm okay with them, like, I'm so okay with them overextending here. Because the other option I have here is just do this and then develop front formation. But they have so many resources in hand still that I don't want to start pinging myself before I can make use of the front formation T-34s. Like, the other option is I can just Monasteer right now and push the T-34 to the front line. But I don't think that's good enough. I want to keep the Char B until I can make use of the shock attack properly. It was... I probably could have played that a bit better, but I think it's fine. Again, I'm just kind of waiting on my opponent to overextend just a little bit. Calliope takes out the 1-1. Does market damage on the T-34. Sturmy push. Yeah, now I feel like floods out with the Choco Boys. Okay, now this is a worthwhile Monasteer. I do lose my T-34, but it's fine. Sally. Yeah. It's unfortunate that I lose the T-34 there, but it is what it is. Also, my opponent's now on 16 credits, which is very funny. Yeah, we're just going Monasteer. Actually, no, we swing first. This takes 2 credits, so go to 10. But I gain 7. I'll go to 9 rather. It's +2. It is +2. I should know that I've played so much Sturmy. We just Monasteer this now. Yeah, just take our 7 heals. Because now we're in a much better position just to develop the front formation here. Tiger Cat for the opponent. Into the third Calliope. Plays a bunch of Choco Boys, which nullifies the Tiger Cat's token. So here we go banners. Go train. So that's another big win condition gone in the Tiger Cat, which is good. The opponent takes a moment to think. Also, most likely this video is going to be a bit shorter than usual because I don't have a lot of time to record today, and these control matches take like 15-20 minutes a pop, so I might have time for maybe 3. We'll see. Sturmy comes down into Seahawk, into the final Choco Boy. So the good news is I can bounce the Seahawk at any point. I will go front formation here, I think. Because the train is still a pain to deal with, right? I could also pin the Sturmy if I wanted to. Get the Kirkness down. Kirkness still removes everything, even through Seahawk. Just place to the left at HU, just play around the top like Juras potential. Red Devils. Pushes the Red Devils. Yeah, what I'll do most likely is Sally the Seahawks, just so I can clear some of this front line up. Yeah, I should have pinged off my light infantry. Not that it would have really mattered. Yeah, so Sally... Oh, I actually take nothing from the front formation. I've just realized because of the Seahawk. That's great. Okay, that's fine then. And we can go... I could go Char B to remove one of these. Could also go Gachina. I think I go Gachina. I get the draw here. That's not bad, actually. I still have a number of decent 3-drops in the deck. I think I do just drop the Char here. Because I'm getting... No, I can't drop the Char because I'm getting the T35 or the T34 next turn. So I have to hold this. Because I don't want... I need the T34 next turn. To really start breaking through here. They scoop it up. They see the writing on the wall. Interesting deck, though, from the opponent. US-Finland midrange. It's fun to see some interesting stuff. So we're up against Britain. This is probably going to be like Brit-Japan. That seems to be the norm. I'll hold like this in case it happens to be like buffs. Naval Brigade plus the sickle is nice. But this is most likely going to be some long game here, I would imagine. Opponent passes on 2. We draw Gachina off the top. I could develop 178 here and then go for block next turn, which I think I will. Could be Handlock as well, actually. Okay, no, it's garrisons, I would say. It's garrisons or it's buffs, or could be a hybrid. Could see a chain home come out here. C4th. Sally. Sally is actually pretty good against this. I think I will just drop the Gachina here. C4th is just a very interesting card to see. I seem to believe it might not necessarily be like Brit-Japan. Could be Brit-US, maybe? There's no point in setting up the Naval Brigade just yet. And if they push this... Well, they're not going to push it because I have the fighter, so... Gachina, I think, is the play. Just Gachina plus push. Because this invites the attack from the Frontier Force, which then puts it in range of Sickle. Getting a big one heal off that. And this is the third Sickle. I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been I could have done a Sally off of it. Oxford. Plus Garrison. Plus Protected Convoy. Yeah, so it is just Garrisons, I think. It's Garrisons / Guards. Sickle this. Let's sally the 1/6 here. And let me clear the Oxford. And I think I pass at that. I don't think there's any need to overextend here. Again, we've not seen an ally just yet. Oh, I'm on the wrong side of the screen. There we go. I don't think I developed, because my plan is probably just to go for armor train next turn. Start pumping out light infantry. Land girls for the opponent, draws 2. Into plan. So I still have a production in hand, pushes the suppressed garrison. Train. Just mark the 1 on the garrison here. I'm not doing anything else with the credit anyway. I could set up for a raiding brigade, or naval brigade rather, on this with the sickle, which might have been better. I don't really know. Carpet bombing. That is fine. Into production, into push C4th. I will just pop this, I think. Go for naval brigade and pass. Because next turn I just pop this and push these, or I can push the armor train. Armor train in the front line is going to be a pain for my opponent to deal with, most likely. Royal West Kents. Soviets. Okay, so it's just Brit Sov Guard. So they're going to be playing like the frontal defense and stuff like that. Not frontal defense. What's it? Mobile defenses. Barrage on the train. Strat focus is a great draw. Push the naval brigade here, I think. What am I doing? I did that the complete wrong way around. It was supposed to be this and then push these. That was dumb. Apologies, it's early in the day still. I think we'll just go here, like, because he can play. I know there's he's a handful of blitz options, right? I do need to drop something here. I could just go call for healing. We're definitely doing this. Am I going call for heal? Will I want the card draw? Probably, but I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. Like, I have double sickle in hand for cycling. Yeah, a sloppy play last turn. This does make it awkward to trade into it, at the very least. Interesting. I will have to hold a sickle to test for interception. I could barrage the Kents now. Or I can wait. I might wait, because if I just push, my opponent is like potentially inclined to just keep developing. Again, we're going to have to hold sickle to test for interception off this Hampshire regiment. Land growths. Yep, that's fine. Push the front line. We've got another one to push. Just pass at that, I think. I know they probably have a second barrage in hand by now. Second barrage, yep. They sure do. Push, push, push. Just drop like 2 more units here. Mosquito. Liberation. I can just go Liberation plus Monastery here, which is like fine. Oh my god. I forgot. Aha. I totally forgot that because of Kent's, they have Blitz, so they technically have 2 keyboards, right? Oh, that's wonderful. Whoops. This is the world's most expensive extended barrage. Oh, man. Boy, howdy, that was dumb. Yeah, these now have Blitz. Yeah. That was incredibly dumb by me. That will cost me the game. I just completely blanked on that. That was incredibly stupid by me. Holy. I did mention that it's pretty early in the morning, okay? Jesus Christ, that was bad. Even by my standards, that was bad. We have Silesia Cycle 1 here. KV1. Chain Home. Heal 7, that's fine. That works for me. So Fortification was the take off of the Hampshire from the looks of it. Second Extended Barrage. Second Silesia. Find Sharby. If I go Barrage here, I go down to 8. So I could get the Sharby into the front line. I could also just go Sharby plus Silesia into Extended Barrage this. Correct. Correct. Go Sharby, go Silesia, draw 2. Extended Barrage this, pass. Importantly, the Sharby having 2 combat keywords, so it is a very useful piece to have in this deck. Survives Master, can draw you cards off Silesia, very, very handy. Still cannot believe I made that stupid, stupid mistake with the Monasteer. That is so dumb. Sharby is at least fairly threatening. Once again, Heavy Armor 2 was a lot. So unless they're playing all 3 Extended Barrage, and they'd have to have drawn all 3 Extended Barrages as well. Second Royal West Kents into 55th. Sally. I can Silesia draw 3 here. I could trade the 4-attack Silesia into this. This trades here, pushed, kill. Second Sharby. This trades here, this trades here. Push, kill, push. We are fairly close to fatigue is the only issue here. Forward observers for the opponent. Draws them the card. Second observers off the top. Mosquito now can kill the Sharby. Second Sharby does deal with the Mosquito though, if they have the second one. But if not, this starts outputting a ton of pressure. Third Kents. This can trade for the Shar into mobile defenses, so they can trade 1 mobile defense for the Shar here. I'm probably not going to develop this block for card draw. Second Shar, take out the Kents, push here. Get one of the F-45s down. We've seen both of the Fort Observers. They've played a single carpet bombing. They might be playing 2. But again, the Heavy Armor 2 in this Sharby is so unbelievably obnoxious. It's so good. It just blanks so much damage. I can just Sally this now. Chain Home. Can mark a single damage on the Shar. It's the Heavy Armor 2, man. It's so much. So I can barrage this. Actually, no, I have a better line, don't I? Because I can go Sharby here. Victory Banner is a Sharby. Take out the Tiger Moth, and then I have 2 Sharbys, right? I'm fine with taking a point of damage off the Tiger Moth here. If they top take a second Tiger Moth, that's also fine. Hampshire. For Convoy. Middlesex. Tiger Moth goes face. Garrison comes down. We finally find the front formation. Let's see. I think from this position, there's not too many cards in the opponent's deck that bail them out. Like, they can do Order plus Wave, which doesn't clear anything. These Sharpies are putting on a ton of pressure on the support line, unlike on my opponent's support line. Again, Heavy Armor 2 is just so much to get through. Taking a ping from the Tiger Moth is fine. I probably just develop the front formation next turn. I don't think there is much burn potential out of them. Maybe a second Mosquito. But, like, that's kind of it. There's a second Mosquito. She'll go face. Into Frontier Force. So we're going to sally this. Push here, and I will just go Call to the Colonies and heal. Yeah, there shouldn't be... Oh, and the resistance as well. It hits the irrelevant one, which is unfortunate, but it's fine. Cameronians. What is my Illusion giving me? Okay. Into another garrison. Yeah, I'll take the 4 heal. That is A-okay with me. So 4th Guards goes here. Char here, Char here. Go Liberation. Plus IL-10. And it should be sealed up from here. Again, I can't think of a single card in their deck that bails them out. Wave clears 2-3 things. Carpet Bombing doesn't clear anything. Guards enable. This is gonna look dumb. Do I do? I think I do this though. Again, like resistance into wave clears most of this, but it gives me another 4th Guards. Land Girls. Resistance. Wave is no longer active. Convoy. Plan. Chain Home. Hits the block. Go front formation here. Again, we'll play around the wave a little bit. Mobile defense. This is the one downside to playing against pure guards. Push this. Is that they will inevitably have guards when you're trying to kill them. This now gives me a T-34, which is fine. KEB is fine. Kraken is the last card. Interesting game, though. Somehow managed to win despite the unbelievable Monastery punt. Even for me, that was like an unforgivable misplay. That was bad. Up against Britain once again. This isn't a bad keep. We'll try this. 2 A45s is fine. Most likely going to be some kind of, again, garrison spam deck. Seems to be the thing that Britain is doing these days. Might also be like Brit, Germany, Bond. Doesn't really tell me much. Middlesex is seeing play everywhere right now in Britain. We find a third copy of A45 up the top. Brit US ramp. Okay. I don't really know what to expect out of Brit US. Honey. Into Land Girls. War Machine. Opponent taking time to think here. Research. Research for expanded. As we find train. I'll hold the second A45. I don't think I need it right now. This is perfectly Montyable, I think, for the opponent. Hampshire. I have Zukov. I will Zukov here. Find Krakenas. Drop the train. We will have to assume that they took interception until we see fortification or whatchamacallit, convoy. Trade here, push here, go naval brigade on. I mean, I could, yeah, we get rid of the Mustang here. This, I think, draws them a card, no? It sure does. So they mill one. And the mill is a honey. Yeah, as long as they're floating credits, I'm just going to assume interception. They could potentially wave me. If I get waved, I heal 8 from the wave, which is like fine. Go liberation. Havre is also just explicitly good for me, I think. Because it resets the health on my training, gives me back the Naval Brigade. They're going for Bletchley from the looks. Sally. So I have 5 damage in the front line. Can I be Bletchley? Probably. Because the train sticks. No, the train gets topped because it's 5 or less, right? I think for Bletchley. So I will probably just aggressively trade my board next turn. Because once we transition into Soviet late game. Yeah, so they are leaning Bletchley here. Do I even push the train? I can just block. I mean, it's fine. I'll just take my damage. They can't Bletchley this turn. They're Bletchleying next turn. My Naval Brigade sticks post Bletchley. I'm okay with the train being topped because it resets the health on the train, which is good for me. Havre sends 3 things to hand if they go for this turn. So Havre into Bletchley would be like worst case scenario. I think them clearing the board doesn't make so much sense either. They pass. I could go Guards Naval, print an extra illusion so I end up with 2 on the top of the deck. It also means I end up with 1 less light infantry. I could sickle 1. Just so I have 1 less dead draw. Oh, and they milled the Havre. That's huge. Okay, that's good news. There goes the Bletchley. So Naval Brigade stays in the front line here. And Illusion is the top deck. So just push this. Now they have to answer the board again. If they answer this, I have the Illusion follow-up. I wasn't paying so much attention. I'm not sure what the next card is. Mosquito. Takes out the Naval Brigade. Into Hampshire. Light Infantry was the top deck. So they've probably taken Fortification off the second Hampshire here. Every time I hear that sound effect, I think I'm being chain homed. Every single time. Because we still haven't seen any convoys or any fortifications come out. So the first Hampshire had to have been Interception. Queen's Own. Get our IL-10 back. I could play light infantry here. They can't hit it with the bomber. They could go for like... The issue of playing light infantry here is if they have forward observers in hand and they kill the infantry and then kill the Ilyushin. So I can't play the infantry here as much as I want to, just to protect against like the Queen's Own push. Because as it stands, this is the T-34, right? Yeah. Take the trade, I get the T-34 back. B-17 Flying Fortress, short. To Queen's Own push. There is a second IL-10 on the top, like somewhere in the top of the deck. Resistance hits the wrong thing, unfortunate. It literally stops the worst. It's the worst target on board. Ideally would have been the B-17. Clear the guard. They can go 14 face now. 4 cards left over. They can go for fortification, which they do. This does let me kill the Queen's Own here. Find block, which is a great top deck. Block finds armor train. Oh, okay. Great resistance draw. I wonder if this is Jaking's list, actually. I know he posted I know he posted a Brit US ramp deck. I don't remember exactly what the list looked like, but I do remember he was playing like triple Hampshire plus B-17. So this might just be Jaking's list. Also, we're technically so far ahead on fatigue, it's incredible. Block does stop the Mosquito here, which is nice. Mustang. The biggest downside is we know that there is like no card draw coming for a while. There's the Observer. So they did have it. So I was correct to play around it. But I think from here... think from here we're pretty much dead. Yeah. Yeah, it's game. Unfortunate. It was close. The Bletchley set us back so far. It was very, very close though. Their last couple of top decks and last few turns really salvaged it. Like the second Hampshire, I think, was very, very important, giving them a big guard and some healing. Yeah. Having the Hampshire and having the Queen's Own is, I think, what saved them. But it's difficult to tell, really. But yeah, fun list. Up against Britain again. A lot of Britain on ladder all of a sudden. Keep the turn to a 45th. Once again, most likely going to be garrison spam. Honey. Into land girls, sure. Next turn, probably like ping here and push this. Desert Dust. Gets a couple of garrisons. Push here. Opponent also has the Monty. Plus Mosquito. We'll just extend a barrage here, push here. Just clear off the Mosquito. So I should be able to clear one of the garrisons next turn. See Hampshire Regiment. A lot of Hampshire Regiment all of a sudden as well on ladder. Just reduce the damage I'm taking from the pings here. Second Hampshire Regiment, obviously. Find Sharpie. I will just drop the Sharpie here. There's Gemmin in the front line. Obviously. Let's see. So this seems to be like Handlock if they're playing Belfast, just naturally. Home Guard. On the Shar into Henschel. Yeah, so German ally, this is Handlock. Strat focus. My kingdom for a sickle. I think I do call for card draw here. So there's sickle. The issue is that they're most likely holding up interception, right? Yeah, so there's one interception. Push one of these. I can go Liberation, go back to 21. If I can get rid of the Henschel, the strat focus becomes just a lot better. Alright, Honey down. Garrison. Into Convoy, so that was the first take off of the first Hampshire. Kirkenes. I think I'll go Kirkenes here, and then I go for Silesia. Find Monasteer. I could barrage the Henschel. Or I could just sit on the support line here for a turn. Because these are out of range of route. I do want to get something out of my hand in case they have like a 106th. Or not, is it 106th? The Panzergren? The Convert Panzergrenadier, the 7-cost one now? They could have Avray. So I can like push Avray. Which does get rid of my 9-9, I think. Henschel hits the 9-9. Research for expanded to another honey. Liberation. I could consider just going for Monasteer, push. Just get these into the front line, start pressuring. I kind of think I have to. This is like, I don't like doing this, but I think I have to. I just feel like I need to start pushing pressure here. So they did have the Avray. So it's interesting that they didn't make an attempt for it last turn. Second Henschel. Their draw has been immaculate so far this game. Draw 2 here. I'm looking for front formation sooner rather than later. So they're going to go for Bletchley. Sherwood. Puts another Churchill on top. Naval Brigade is a nice pickup. So we'll just push, because these are going to get pushed back next turn regardless. We'll go for the block. find a sickle. I can go sickle plus barrage on this one. I could also just barrage the shortwood. We find the front formation, which is huge. Because now they play the second Avray. Oh, they go sonar. Interesting. Okay, I was very much expecting a... I was expecting him to go for Bletchley. Bletchley would have been potentially backbreaking there. A little bit of a missequence with the attack. Find Sally. So I know they have an Avray. So deploying ground units is probably a bad idea here. Just do it like this. This also should like deter an Avray play here. Panzer Grenadiers. 35T plus combined arms makes it a 4-4. We can kill both units in the front line here. Jagged Panzer. Don't you dare hit the front formation. Okay. I could have sallied to pin this. I don't think I care enough, because next turn I'm just going to go strat focus, deal 5 to everything. If they go Avray to bounce, I can go strat focus, deal 5 and pin the Avray, and then I can develop the Naval Brigade on the following turn. They take the face damage. I could also just take this trade. Yeah, okay. They can't. Alright, the front formation was like pivotal in that game. Once the front formation is like gets going, they can't outpace it. So removing all the units there with the strat focus was like incredibly important. Yeah, they should have gone for Bletchley. Bletchley would have been absolutely backbreaking, but like they're playing against Soviet France, they're going to assume I'm playing a bunch of heavy, like high cost units, even though we're teched to be slightly more anti-aggro with the amount of 2-drops we're running. Yeah, just interesting thing in like deck building there. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. This deck is a ton of fun to pilot, but very difficult to pilot correctly. But this is going to be the last deck for this current patch. The next deck will be a fresh deck from Oceania Storm, so hopefully you guys stick around for that. It should be a ton of fun. I have some pretty interesting decks lined up for the week of launch. I'm hoping to be able to stream at some point during launch week, but we'll see. I don't guarantee anything, but like I said, there should be some fresh interesting decks coming up, so hopefully you guys stick around for all that stuff. But I digress. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.